Hey, welcome back to Lab. This is Charlie, and today I want to go over very quickly the Koppen climate classification system. I just want to hit the high points, give you a general overview of the way the system works. So let's start off at the beginning. Vladimir Petrovich Koppen was a Russian-born German meteorologist, and he created what is the most widely used climate classification system, the Koppen climate classification system. So one of the keys to the Koppen climate classification success is that it's very straightforward and it just uses temperature patterns and rainfall patterns to classify climates. That data is readily available worldwide. So the Koppen system identifies climates using a system of 2 or 3 letters. The first letter tells you the general overall temperature of that climate. The second letter tells you about the timing of the rainfall. If there's a third letter, that tells you more detailed information about the temperature during the year. For example, is the summertime unusually hot or is the winter unusually cold? The tropical, the A climates, and the polar E climates don't have seasons, so they don't have a third letter to tell us more about the temperature of the summertime or the wintertime. They just have 2 letters. So let's go through the 5 climate categories. There's the A climates, those are tropical, warm and rainy every single month for the most part. There are the B climates, those are dry climates, they have moisture deficits. The C are mesothermal climates, they're found mainly in the mid-latitudes. The winter is above freezing, as opposed to the microthermal climates seen in the mid to high latitudes. Those have winters with a temperature below freezing. And finally, the E climates, the polar climates, those are found in polar regions at high latitudes. Those are cold year-round. They have no summer. So when you're using the Koppen climate classification system, there's an order that you have to check the climates in. Just like when you're doing math, there's multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. There's an order of operations. In order to get the right answer, you have to do it in the right order. And when you're using the Koppen climate classification system, you need to check climates in this order. The first thing you check to see, is it a polar climate? If it's not a polar climate, you check to see if it's a dry climate. If it's not a dry climate, you check to see if it's a tropical climate. If it's not tropical, you check to see if it's a mesothermal climate. If it's not a mesothermal climate, you check to see if it's a microthermal climate. If it's not a microthermal climate, you've done something wrong and you should check your numbers and then start back at the beginning. So let's take a look in more detail. So the first thing you ask when you're classifying climates is every month below 10 Celsius. Is every month below freezing? If it is some sort of polar climate. You've identified the general climate type. Then you have to figure out what type of actual polar climate it is. If every month isn't below 10, then you go to the next. You check to see, is it a dry climate? You do the math to see if is there a moisture deficit. If there is, then you keep going down the path with dry climates. If you don't find that moisture deficit, if it doesn't meet the criteria to be a dry climate, then you go to the next climate. You check to see, is it a tropical climate? Is every month over 18? If it is, then you have to look at the timing of the rainfall. Is it a tropical rainforest? Is it a monsoon? Is it a savanna? Is it a winter dry? But if every month isn't above 18 Celsius, it's not a tropical climate. Then you got to see, is it a mesothermal climate? Is the summer over 10 Celsius, but the winter is over 0? If the months meet that temperature criteria, it's a mesothermal climate. If not, you've eliminated everything else, and it's got to be a microthermal climate. Summer's over 10 Celsius, winter below freezing. If it meets those criteria, it's a microthermal climate. Then you have to look at the second letter, the timing of the rainfall, and the third letter, more temperature information. So let's go through and do some actual analysis. So we're starting with a climate. Are all months colder than 10 Celsius? If yes, it's a polar climate. And then you check to see, is the warmest month between 0 and 10? If the answer is yes, it's a tundra climate. If the answer is no, it's got to be an ice cap climate. Is the warmest month below 0? Then it's an ice cap. But if it didn't meet the general criteria of all months colder than 10 Celsius, then you got to go to the next climate. You go to check to see, is it a dry climate? So there's two main types. There's the steppe, where precip is less than the dryness factor, and desert, where precip is less than half of the dryness factor. So if you don't have enough water, it's a steppe. If you have less than half the water you need, it's a desert. So we have to find out how much rain falls in the summer. That's pretty simple. You just look at the Koppen climate classification sheet and determine, is it rainier April through September or October through March? You find out how much rain falls in the summer. You use that information to find the threshold number. The threshold number is equal to doubling the annual average temperature, T, and then you add a dryness factor based on how much of the rain falls in the summer. So April through September is summer in the northern hemisphere. October through March is summer in the southern hemisphere. Again, all you got to do is look at the data table for the climate station that you're trying to classify and see, is October through March the warm season, or is April through September the warm season? If April through September is the warm season, you're in the northern hemisphere, and April through September are the months that you're going to use to calculate out summer rainfall. Summer rain is less effective than winter rain, because in the summertime it's warmer, so there's more evaporation. In the wintertime, if it's cooler, more of the rain that falls is going to soak into the ground before it evaporates, so more water is available for plants. So we say winter rain is more effective than summer rain. And now we get into the nitty-gritty. So you've added up the summer rainfall. You've divided that by the total rainfall to determine what percent of the rain falls in the summer. If more than 2/3 of the rain falls in the summer, then TH equals 2T plus 28. If between 1/3 and 2/3 of the rain falls in the summer, then TH equals 2T plus 14. And finally, if most of the rain falls in the non-summer months, then TH just equals 2T. Again, summer is April through September in the northern hemisphere, October through March in the southern hemisphere. Next, we're going to take that TH number and compare it to P for precip. If precip is greater than TH, it's not a dry climate, and you need to go to the next climate type. If P divided by TH is between 0.5 and 1, it's a steppe climate. And the symbol for that in the Koppen system is capital B, capital S. If P divided by TH is less than 0.5, then it's a desert, capital B, capital W. And then the next thing to do is to figure out what's the average annual temperature to determine, is it a hot or cold climate. If the average temperature is warmer than 18 Celsius, then it's an H. If the average annual temperature is colder than 18 Celsius, then it's a K. And the capitalization is very important in the Koppen system, that for the dry climates, the first two letters BW or BS are capitalized, the third letter is lowercase. So, as you're doing this classification, let's just pretend that we were seeing, is it a dry climate? We got the answer no, it's not a dry climate. Precip is greater than TH, so the next thing we check, is it a tropical climate? Is every month above 18 Celsius? If it is, then you continue on down with the A climates to figure out what the second letter is. Do all months receive more than 6 centimeters of rain? In that case, it's a capital A, lowercase f. The next thing you have to check, is it a monsoon climate? And the way you check to see is it a monsoon climate is by comparing the annual precipitation to 25 times 10 minus the precip of the driest month in centimeters. So for example, if our driest month had 1 centimeter of rainfall, then the equation would be 10 minus 1 would be 9 times 25, which is 18. That's not right. let's try that again. So if every month doesn't receive 6 centimeters of rain, the next thing you have to check is it a monsoon climate. To check if it's a monsoon climate, you have to compare annual rainfall, PRECIP. Annual rainfall, if it's a monsoonal climate, will be greater than 25 times 10 minus the PRECIP of the driest month in centimeters. So you find out, look at the data table again, find the driest month, subtract the rainfall for the driest month in centimeters from 10, multiply that by 25, and then you compare it to annual PRECIP. If annual PRECIP is greater than 25 times 10 minus PRECIP of the driest month, it's a monsoon climate. If annual PRECIP isn't greater, then you continue down the list. Is it a summer? Is it a summer dry? If it's summer dry, the driest summer month receives less than 6 centimeters PRECIP. But you can't get to the S until you've evaluated, is it an M climate? So you check to see, is it an F? If it's not an F, you check to see, is it an M? If it's not an M, you check to see, is it an S? If it's not an S, it had better be a W. Winter dry season, driest winter month, receives less than 6 centimeters PRECIP. So if it wasn't a dry climate and it wasn't a tropical climate, then the next thing to check for, if it's not a dry climate, check to see if it's a C climate. If the hottest month is warmer than 10 Celsius and the coldest month is between 0 and 18, it's a C climate. So now we know the general climate type, C, and we have to evaluate for the second letter. For the C and the D climates, the second letter tells you the timing of the rainy season. The first thing you need to check is it a summer dry climate? Does the driest summer month receive less than 6 centimeters PRECIP? And also, is that driest summer month less than 1/3 of the PRECIP of the wettest month? If it meets both criteria, then it's a CS something. Or I suppose it could be a DS climate, because the second letter for the C's and D's are the same for the most part. So if it's not an S climate, then you check to see, is it a W? Is the wettest summer month 10 times wetter than the driest winter month? If it is, it's a W, winter dry season. If not, then it's got to be an F. If it's not a S, then you check to see if it's a W. If it's not a W, it's got to be an F, year-round PRECIP. There's no noticeable dry season. And then you look to see the third letter. Is the warmest month over 22? If it is, you're done. It's a C whatever A climate. If the hottest summer month isn't over 22, then you check to see, are at least 4 months above 10 Celsius? If the answer is yes, it's a C whatever B climate. If it doesn't meet that criteria, then it's got to be a C climate, not B, coldest month above -38. If the coldest month is below -38, if the coldest month is colder than -38, it can't be a C climate, because C climates have above freezing winter temperatures. If the coldest month is below -38, it's got to be a D climate, and in fact it's a D whatever D climate, and that last D is the extreme subarctic. So if it wasn't a C climate, if it didn't meet the initial temperature criteria, you check to see if it's a D climate. Is the hottest month over 10 and the coldest month below 0? If the answer is yes, it's a D climate. Then the next thing you're going to check for is the second letter for the timing of the rainfall. Is it an S? Is it a W? Is it an F? And then you check to see the third letter. And for the third letter, the C and D third letter are the same for the A, hot summer, B, warm summer, C, cool summer. But the D climates also have a fourth option for the third letter, and that is the D. And the D, again, the coldest month is below -38 Celsius. The only climates that have a coldest month below -38 Celsius are the D whatever D climates. So if the coldest month is below -38, it can't be the third letter can't be a C. If it's below 38 in any month, the last letter has to be a D, and it has to be a big capital D microthermal climate. Those are only found in the D microthermal climates. So on the spreadsheet, it's got this information that there can only be one climate type in a region, and you have to check the climates in the following order. This is the full order of operations. And I'm not going to read the whole list, but you can see that you check, is it some sort of E, followed by hot steppe, hot desert, cold desert. AF is tropical rainforest, AM is tropical monsoon, AS is summer dry, AW is winter dry, and then the CS, CW, CF, DS, DW, DF. So that is the full list of climates in the order that you check them. And that's pretty much it for this video. I'm going to post these slides with some other information for you. Talks about climate graphs, some of the terms, and also brings you through an example for one of these climates, determining is it what kind of climate is in Ouagadougou. So I hope you check that out. If you have any questions, please let me know. And that's it. I wish you good luck classifying climates.